Hello and welcome to IGPP Expert Talks. I'm Hina Goswami, editorial consultant with IGPP, Institute for Governance, Policies and Politics, New Delhi. Today at IGPP Expert Talks, we are going to discuss a recently published paper, AI Tools in Society, Impacts on Cognitive Offloading and the Future of Critical Thinking. And to discuss the same, we are joined by Professor Michael Gerlich. Professor Michael Gerlich is the head of Center for Strategic Corporate Foresight and Sustainability. Beside this, he leads the Executive Education Program of SPS. In addition, Professor Gerlich teaches several business and management courses in MBA, Master's, and Bachelor's program. He has worked as an advisor to the President and the Prime Minister of Kyrgyzstan, the Cabinet of Ministers in Uzbekistan, and various ministers for economic affairs in Azerbaijan. In addition to holding leading positions with GIZ, KfW, the German Development Bank, the International Finance Corporation, and private sector. His research interests lies in marketing, AI and big data, strategic analysis and foresight, sociology in marketing, changes in society, and impact of AI on society, among other things. Welcome to IGPP Expert Talk, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
With the advent of ChatGPT, debates have emerged about its various impacts, particularly its cognitive effects on the learning process. This debate isn't new. Throughout history, every major technological advancement has raised concerns about its impact on human thought. Plato feared that writing would weaken memory. The printing press made monks like Trithemius anxious about the decline of handwritten text. Teachers worried about calculator ruining arithmetic skills. Now we have the latest disruptor, generative AI. Do you view this as a recurring cycle of resistance to technological change, or is the impact of AI fundamentally different from previous disruptions?
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, indeed, we had cognitive offloading since the whole history of humankind, right? As soon as we were pretty much engraving into stone, we could offload information, right? And this is where the big difference is. In the past, we were often offloading either just content, for example, to our phones. So when I was young, I remembered all the telephone numbers that were necessary to know because we didn't have mobile phones. Today, to be honest, I have difficulties to remember my own number because I have multiple numbers and everything is now in my smartphone. This was mainly offloading of information, right? And then you gave the example of the calculator, where we then were offloading as well certain skills. But the big difference is especially with Gen AI, that is the first time that it actually lets you offload the thinking process. And this is where the difference is, right? So, and it's not generally that Gen AI does something badly. It's rather how we use it. And we could see in our own study, but as well in the study that was done late and published a few weeks after mine, done by Microsoft, and they were investigating knowledge workers. They came to the same results pretty much, and saying that depending on how young you are or how confident you are with your own knowledge, and that's often, confidence is often linked with your experience and age. The younger you are, the less confident you are. There is a clear tendency that those people offload the thinking process. And that's then where the big difference is, right? So generally, cognitive offloading is nothing bad. I mean, we have done it all the time. It becomes bad when we offload thinking generally, and it's not limited to a small part like mathematics, right? But when it actually applies to all kinds of thinking, even in your daily life, not just on the job, but on the daily life. And in that respect, yes, there is a difference.
Your research indicates that younger individuals exhibit a higher dependence upon AI tools and score lower in critical thinking compared to older participants, while higher educational attainments correlate with better critical thinking skills regardless of AI usage. What do you believe accounts for this generational and educational divide in AI dependence? And what would be the broader cognitive implications of cognitive offloading to AI?
Yeah. Now, well, first of all, you have to know that I have um, background in sociology, in behavioral sciences, right? I'm not a medical doctor, but due to the publication, a lot of medical doctors approached me as well and said that the results of the study are very important because the development of critical thinking would happen in the younger age. And the information that I received, again, I cannot verify that, I'm not qualified to do that, was that you pretty much miss out if you don't learn critical thinking in a young age. It's not something in the human development that you then can catch up later in life. So they said that is actually very important. Now, where I see, and that's what I said before as well, with the Microsoft study, is that younger people that are not yet confident, and this has nothing to do purely with AI or whether I use more AI because I'm younger and older people wouldn't use it that much, because actually what we could see is in the workforce is now the oldest generation, pretty much Gen X. And Gen X is the generation that grew up, pretty much used the internet and pretty much developed the whole technologies. So we don't have boomers anymore in the workforce. They are now too old, and our study pretty much didn't have any boomers included as well. So I think, and what we can see by other studies, Deloitte, for example, did a study in Switzerland with 1,000 companies. They asked their employees, and everybody uses AI on the job, even though they might not be allowed by their employer, right? So it doesn't matter what age you are. It didn't really correlate. It's not that the older the people they are, the less they would use it, but they use it in a different form. And this is something to do with what now the Microsoft study said as well, that the older you are, the more experience you have, the more confident you are. And as soon as you are more confident, you are critical as well. So you would not just simply accept what ChatGPT or any other Gen AI offers you, because you might identify directly some hallucinations, some mistakes or so. So the older people are more critical, but I believe this is linked to the fact that they are used to critical thinking already, right? You have practiced this throughout your life. Now, with younger people that are not so much used to critical thinking yet, they don't have the confidence of criticizing even an AI. And now they get a result that sounds really brilliant, it looks nice, and they offload more easily the thinking process. And interestingly enough, because of everything that happened, I got approached. I mean, everything, let's say the whole discussion that came out after the publication of the study, I got contacted from educators from around the world, from everywhere, from Australia, Canada, the US, in Europe, everywhere. And they actually said, well, we see that with students, right, whether it's high school or university students, and said, but what shall we do? And I developed a workshop on how to teach students to use AI correctly. And I did one workshop with 60 high school teachers from international schools, so really high level. And what I could see there even was that younger high school teachers had problems, even after telling them what steps to do, not to offload their own thinking process. So they were always asking the AI for the final result, right? And this is so simple, right? When you should do, I don't know, as a teacher, let's just assume from economics or so, someone should do a pastel analysis, let's say, right? So and then you can pretty much say, ChatGPT, can you please do the pastel analysis on Coca-Cola for Asia? And it would do it for you, and you offloaded the thinking process. And even those younger teachers had really problems to it was fascinating to not offload their own thinking process, right? So in that respect, it is related to age, There's a correlation clearly, but it has to do something with being, how to say, being trained on critical thinking already in your life and the confidence that you have. It's very important as well. And that's what the Microsoft study said. The more confident the person is, they use it in a different form.
Many universities initially banned AI tools in academic settings, struggling to adopt to their rapid integration. In India, educational institutions still lack formal guidelines for AI usage. Do you think outright prohibition are an effective strategy for managing AI in education and in learning process? Or should institutions reconsider their approach, and how should they evolve to leverage AI's potential while maintaining academic integrity?
It's a very good question. And I believe now in the age of AI, the whole, especially higher education and high school education, the methodologies have to change totally. While in the past, we were pretty much teaching and training people on the hard skills, these are going to be done pretty much by robotics and AI together, and we have to teach more the soft skills. And one of the part of the soft skills that are very important is the critical thinking. So I believe what you said is ban it doesn't work, right? So this is just, I mean, it's there, it's not going away. And it's fascinating because I did tests when you let AI answer the question alone, when you let the human, meaning the student or a teacher, answer it alone, and then doing it together, but in the right way. The critical thinking comes from the human, and the AI does what I call the dirty work, right? Does then all the research for you, what it is to either prove or disprove your ideas, and you go into a critical thinking discussion. The results now are a lot better. So out of those three, human alone, AI alone, the best solution comes AI and human together, but we have to teach how to use it. And that's a problem. We developed a tool that is so simple to use that nobody ever thought about that we should actually teach people how to use it. And I agree with you as well. Like you said, I mean, I'm a professor, I'm teaching as well. I'm teaching here in Switzerland at SBS Swiss Business School, but at LSE in London and at Anglia Ruskin in Cambridge as well. So, and I see in all cohorts the struggle with ChatGPT. And yes, I had to rewrite all my lectures and all the exams and assignments that we had to make sure that the critical thinking is on such a level that ChatGPT can't answer it, which frustrates me then as well, because there's still students using it, and now you get a very generic definition-like response to something that should be very specific, right? And then, oh, they used it again and again. So, but we have to change our approach as well. And I think the most important thing is not to tell them don't use it, because we can't. They can use it, this on their phones, it's for free. They can use it then at home. And no, but we should rather teach them how to use it. And this is where I said I developed a five-step model, how to do that. But it's not something that you, as I experienced now with high school teachers, it's not something that you can do in an afternoon and then everybody, oh, it's so easy. Because even for high school teachers, for themselves, it's very difficult not to offload the thinking process because we are used to ask the question that leads to the final response. And if you do that, you offload the thinking. So we have to teach them not to do that, to think first. You think your process, and then you go and let ChatGPT now do the research on what you thought to prove or disprove, right? And to add maybe some things that you might have forgotten. And you actually go into a discussion with ChatGPT. Now we have to be careful because those Gen AI tools are pretty much developed to serve your confirmation bias, meaning they have to make you happy. So it will always look and predict, or is trying to predict what you want to hear. And this is what you have to tell ChatGPT and the likes as well, and say, please do not predict what I would like to hear from you, right? I want you actually to give me an opposing opinion, right? I want you to be very critical and things like that. So it is not so easy, while it looks so easy to use, and it is in a way, but if you want to improve your critical thinking, you have to learn how to use and actually instruct and fight with Gen AI, because it will always fall back into the confirmation bias, right? Always to serve you, always predicting, oh, you want to hear, even when you ask a question, usually the way you ask a question already implies an expected answer. And it catches up on that, right? So it is not so easy. And that's where we should focus more on educators, purely teaching. And now you said that you teach history. History has a lots of facts, lots of information. In the past, we might have taught students that they have to remember in a sit exam what happened 1294 in here and there. Question is this really necessary? Or and I assume you are rather teaching now concepts based on history to apply in the modern world, something like that, right? So it's not so much to remember exactly what happened 1294, but it's rather, that ChatGPT can do for you, but, to do the critical thinking on those concepts, right? How to do that. So it is difficult. We have we have to embrace AI, because if we don't do, students already did. So we as educators better embrace it as well. But we have to teach them now how to use it best, that the results are even better. And now we have to increase the expectations in our exams and assignments as well, right? Because we cannot just keep the same standards as before. It was fascinating. The high school teacher, for example, said, I asked them, please enter a typical exam question into ChatGPT. He did. He got the answer. Said, oh God, that is what I expect from grade 7 students, and that would be a 5 out of 6, right? So in Switzerland, grade 1 is the worst, 6 is the best. So it would have been a good answer already, and so he was shocked. And this is where you now have to, right, to rework everything.
Some argue that AI-powered educational tools can democratize access to learning by offering personalized instruction and skill development, particularly benefiting students with limited resources. Do you see AI as a transformative force in bridging educational gaps?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I was just, I think it was 3 weeks ago at the United Nations in Geneva. I was a keynote speaker at the AI for Developing Countries summit, which was there. And one of the topics was as well, generally, whether AI has, what kind of an impact it has on the global south. Now, India obviously is more developed, but I can fully support this. So what I'm always saying is that ChatGPT is the best tutor you can ever get. Tutoring, not only educating, but it can actually adjust to the needs of the students. What I in the classroom, whenever I have a new cohort, the first thing that what I'm saying is, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to adjust my teaching, obviously, to the cohort, but it might not be suitable for a single one of you, because everyone has a different approach to learning. One learns faster, others slower, others have to think, and then the next day they know more. People have different past experiences, and I'm saying it might be that I'm not even meeting a single one of you, right? And offering the perfect learning experience for you. Gen AI can do that. Gen AI can explain this to you on the level that you need, right? And this is why it is amazing. And this is as well for relatively little money or no money at all, you can actually learn. And this is a huge advantage. So one of the big advantages of Gen AI are definitely in the basic healthcare, as well for the global south, where the access to healthcare is not always available, and to basic education here as well, because you can, even for people that don't have the money, people who are very remote would have the possibility now, depending on the language, obviously, because Gen AI can adjust as well to lots of languages. In the past, this was not possible. Even the books, right? Depending what country you're from, then most of the books might not be available in your language. Now, Gen AI can offer this. So there's a huge opportunity, but we have to remember what we were saying, that if it is used for teaching, big advantage. If students use it to write their assignments or for exams, then we have to be careful that it does not become a disadvantage for those students. But definitely, it has huge potentials, and I think it's really bridging the gap that we currently have in education.
There are two prevailing views on AI's role in the workplace. One advocating for AI to handle repetitive tasks, increase efficiency, and the other warning of job losses and a decline in workforce expertise. With long term consequences, might AI adoption have on workforce expertise, innovation, and job structure?
Okay. Now, first of all, and I think this had been said often enough, well, funny enough, by the industry, even the AI industry, saying this as well. AI will have a huge negative impact on the job market, and it will replace most of the jobs. I did a scenario analysis 2025 to 2040 with 43 senior experts from around the world, coming from United Nations, American Association for Political Science, LSE, so different areas and industries. And we expect that by 2040, 40% of the world population will be in a systemic unemployment, meaning unemployed and cannot be re-employed again. And AI, and that is what we have to expect, the question is only when, will obviously lead to well, systemic unemployment, right? It will do the jobs of humans. Now, for now, and this is very important as well, because the offloading of critical thinking on the job is the same thing. Now, currently, what we can see is that people use Gen AI, like I said, although they might not be even allowed to do that, but they do that on their personal devices. And now they have better performance. They answer faster. Their responses are more refined. Your supervisor wants something, you can offer a halfway good solution within a short period of time. But those people have to be careful as well. Because if you don't contribute anything anymore and you're just offloading the thinking, so you're just able to put the question into your ChatGPT and then you take the result and give that to your supervisor, at one point your employer will realize that as well. And then the question comes up, why shall they still pay you your high salary, right? So we come back as well to the combination. You have to, in combination with the AI, you have to add value to it. And we are back to how to use it. If you honestly offload 80% of your job, and it's not just the repetitive things. If we talk about repetitive things, then these are technological processes, right? This is what we had in the past as well in the automation, in the production. Obviously, we can automate as well processes now in administration, but these are technical processes. The risk is rather that we offload all the other tasks that we have as well. And as soon as this, currently you have a very good performance, now everyone uses it. And at one point, your employer realizes, well, instead of having 50 people who ask ChatGPT, I can have two doing that. And I can dismiss 48. Now, what you were saying is as well, now it is important that how can we as humans still contribute to that? Or what is the best combination? And I see as well, at least now for the next 20 years, that it should be a combination of AI and human together. Although, which I would not have expected at all, there are already companies that replace the CEO with an AI. that happened in Japan, in Poland, and in another European country. And I was really surprised because I thought that would be the last position that you would ever replace, right, with an AI.
What would an ideal AI-driven feedback system look like in academic and professional settings?
Well, I'm not really sure whether it should be AI feedback or rather human feedback, right? Generally, I think it's the wrong question. I think that AI shouldn't give a feedback. AI should produce, human side should give feedback. That's how it should be, right? I can give you. Oh, well, but this is a bigger story, right? So let's say for the last 100 years or even more, all our societies were pretty much functioning in a very Tayloristic view, meaning that Taylorism is started pretty much with Henry Ford in the assembly line, where we had a machine that could do things, but not everything, right? And now the humans had to fill the gaps. And so we were trying pretty much throughout all our societies, we went for efficiency, and that was that you do the same thing over and over again to become better and more efficient. And by doing so, we were actually filling the gaps that machines couldn't do because a machine worked exactly this way. It did the same thing over and over again, very, very fast. And now we were trying to train humans the same way. The problem now is that even in human resource management, we have that in Europe, for example, that there is a new job announcement, and then 800 to 1,000 people apply. The problem is now that you cannot really read as people and as humans in the human resource department 1,000 applications. So what they do is pretty much every job is now broken down to, let's say, 10 to 12 basic indicators in the job description. And now a machine is analyzing every application on those 12 standards, right? So we standardize jobs, we give standard criteria, and an automated system analyzes that. But that's where the problem starts, because when you standardize and you let a machine search for the ideal candidate, all you can get is standard. You never get the outliers. You don't get the people who think beyond. And this is where I was invited to a speech in front of 200 head of HRs from big European companies. And that's what they said actually as well. We are currently not getting the people that we need. And I said, but that's a problem, right? Because you are looking for people with hard skills that did it over and over again. But now in the time where hard skills get less and less important, you actually need people with more soft skills. That would be emotional intelligence, intuition, experience from different sectors, and so on and so forth, because the hard skills are going to be provided by AI and robotics, right? And they said, yeah, it's actually true. We can't get that. So in that respect, coming back again, I would not get the feedback from an AI, but rather the other way around, right? Feedback should always come from the human side.
As AI continues to shape how students write, learn, and think, educators, companies, and policymakers face the challenge of ensuring AI serves as an enhancement rather than a replacement for human cognition. What practical measures should be implemented at different stages, from design to deployment, to mitigate AI's potential adverse effect on critical thinking and independent learning?
Oh, again, a huge question. It is okay in an educational setting, but it has a wider societal impact as well, because I mean, there are people who are out of education, and for example, you can ask ChatGPT to do your travel itinerary, and it will do this brilliantly. The whole critical thinking part, even in your private life, can diminish if you're not working hard on yourself. So this is a societal part, because more and more AI tools are available, and they serve uh, the offloading of thinking. So that would be bad. But when we go in an educational environment, right, it is what we said earlier already, right? So we have to make sure that we teach, and there's where it starts. Someone has to teach the educators, first of all, how to use AI, right? And then the educators have to teach the students how to use it. And we should train it even in the classrooms. Now, this is obviously in countries where students have already computers in high school or in university already in the classroom. That is a little bit easier than when they have it only at home or, they are not with them. But we have to train them on how to use it. And that from an age where they already have access. And that's now where the parents have to come in. Because in some societies, parents give their young children electronic devices at a very early age. Sometimes as well, unlimited access to social media, which has a different problem, creates different problems, and maybe with that as well, easy access to AI. And latest at that stage, right, we should teach young people how to use it in the correct way. If we lose that, it's very difficult. As I said, even with teachers who just by not being used how to ask the right questions, they offload even as adults already the thinking process to an AI. They might not use it, right? And because they're not used to using the AI so much, they ask as well the wrong questions, right? So it might not be that they are not capable to do the critical thinking, because high school teachers obviously can do critical thinking, but using the AI, their first use would be offload the thinking process as well. And this is then where we have to teach. I mean, this is now a totally new field. We have to consider how to train educators and then students how to use it. And it should be an integrated part of education already, right? In the teachers and professors training, it should be part of it, and it should be part of every classroom um, because it's there. Embrace it. Just we have to teach them how.
Thank you so much for joining us today. These are all the questions. Thank you for this very insightful and